generations help, at least for the next 2 years till we get an update on the system. Alright, so folks, what I'd like you to do now is we've played around with your makeup effects, but let's say we want to remove blemishes. That's a popular thing that you can do. With your makeup effects you've learned, there's a variety of ways to do it. You can get that nice skin tone and start with a nice smooth brush like we've done, and paint over some of those pores if you wanted to from this gentleman here. I like that visceral look, but, you know. Either way, just give him a big hug. It's scary at all. Either way, what we're going to do next is let's go onto your favorite browser, and again, for Google search, this time look for face blemish. Find a face with blemishes, and we're going to look at an easy way to clear them off. And we're also going to look at, later on down the line, the film stamp tool, and how to make that work for Marcelo to replicate Mega Man's head again. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing. Blemish face, or face blemish. Remember when you're searching images, go to Tools, make sure you're always searching what size? Marcelo, large, you got it. Alright, here we go, some face blemishes. Find a nice spot-on face, doesn't have to be anything too weird. This guy down here does not have any blemishes. Search results are dying on me. Let's just try blemish, see what comes up. There's some nice results. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, I'm going to not search blemish anymore. Blemish face. Blemish face brings me to this guy. 1500 by 1500. You, sir, are my chosen image. Oh. And the file isn't able to be seen. Yeah. So basically, folks, all the things are happening today that we've been talking about. But this is great. It's good exercise. So I can't find the full-size image of this. I'm not going to sell a small thumbnail. Just have to pick a new face with blemishes. You'd think there'd be more on the internet, for crying out loud. All right, how about a face pimple? That's going to give me some terrible stuff, too. Man, I should find a stock photo, because this is getting weird. Okay, we're returning large results, going down slower. Can't find anything. Anybody else having luck finding blemishes? Well, folks, Photoshop has done its job. All the blemishes in the entire world on the internet have been removed. Congratulations, you got these. All right, you know what? Can't find any facial blemishes, that's fine. I'm going to go bad. We're going to do the worst thing ever and get that low-res version of the kid. All right, everybody type in blemish face. For all time, this child must become this blemish.
Can I just use this?
Sure. That'll work great. Actually, that works fine. No, that works great. Just for people that can't find anything, like me. So I'm going to click on this guy, and I will right-click and save this terrible small thumbnail and just be satisfied with it. I can't save it, so maybe I can copy it. Right-click, copy image, and I bet I could paste it. And in this one, let's just do File, New. If you can't find an image to save and then open to get that exact canvas size, we can crop the image later. And heck, you know what? Let's all do that. Instead of file saving it and opening it, go ahead and copy the image. And we're going to look at a couple different options you can do with a smart object, because they're so smart. All right, HD TV 1080p is what I'm going to use, just because it's perfect for Facebook, anything that's got a screen. And once you go to File, New, and choose 1080p, you can copy the image from the web and then paste it. There he is. Kind of big. But that works out great. Thanks, dude. All right, what you can do then is Command-T, and that's going to size your image down. And remember to hold Shift while you drag from the corners. And all we're basically doing is getting a face here. I want to show you the difference, though, real quick, between copying the image from the web like I just did and pasting it and resizing it versus using a smart object. Anybody ever played with a smart object before in Photoshop? I know from preaching to the choir. Okay. All right, so this will be new territory. All right, so basically, notice as soon as I have gone to my Chrome, I copied this image instead of saving it. I copied the image, I'm going to save image as now. So this is blemish 1. Save that. So now I've copied it here. I've saved it there. We've been doing that a while. Not just to have the original file, though. Let me step backwards here a second. So if I right-click and I paste this image like that, you'll see it's pretty big. It doesn't show me it's a smart object because I've just pasted the image. If I hit Command-T and size this, remember, it's losing pixels. So once I hit OK, that size is now the size it is. If I ever wanted to use it bigger, I couldn't because I've lost some pixel information. But if you right-click and save the image, even if you're putting it into a new canvas like I am, what you can do is drag it in here. And once you drag it, it's going to have an X over it. That X is going to show you, I'm going to place this image. As soon as you hit return to accept that, this is common in Adobe now in Illustrator, place an image. You've placed the image. Placing it in there means it's part of it, but notice this little guy right here. It's like a page out of a page, right? A little cut out of a page on that icon. That means it's a smart object. What it's telling you is by dragging this file name in here, the program is saying, I've placed this on your document, hit return to accept. It's there. Now it's a smart object. It's part of your document, but it's actually a sub-save that's contained in that file. So it's got the full-size, full-res image, but it puts it in a smaller package and lets you scale it without affecting pixel size because it's reading a file location instead of the actual pixels. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. If it doesn't, it will next week. We're going to do a lecture on it. All right, so smart objects, really handy to have, but just know that since it's a representation of a file, for example, if I want to get back into it, I can right-click on this thing and edit contents right there under smart objects. And what that does is it says, after editing, choose file save to commit the changes. So now I've got this blemish 1 file. It is linked into this one, so any changes I make here will happen there. If I take this guy and I cut out his nose, or heck, in this case, I don't want an alpha channel. I'm going to fill his nose with pink. There you go. If I click close or I save this, it'll be updated on the other one. There it is. So you want to be careful with those. There we go. But it will save in your history, so you can always go back to before you did that. So just know that it's possible. Smart objects are very powerful and interesting, but you can use a layer mask on them. You can't do other things like the sponge tool or the dodge tool. Those are brushes. Brushes directly affect the pixels. And that's kind of Photoshop only thing, is they've got brushes that affect the pixels. When you get into Illustrator, brushes work totally different. But in this case, we can use the smart object for mostly anything. If you're going to try to do something over the smart object it won't let you do, it'll give you this little, hey, that won't work here. You try to click it. It says, must be rasterized before proceeding. Go ahead and take out your notes because I want you guys to write this down and know what it means. So right now, we're talking about smart objects. So you go ahead and write that down. And smart objects, I want to think of it as a file link. I'm going to type this up for our hearing impaired folks that might be following along. So a smart object, link to a placed file, update, or let's see, right click, edit contents. Okay, so it's kind of a long-winded thing, but basically a link to a placed file is your smart object. So anytime you see smart object and you see that locator, or that little representation, you know what that is and you know why it will let you draw on it. All right, the other thing you do is if you do try to draw on this, like I did, I try to use one of my brush tools on a smart object. It's saying you can't really use that on a link to an object. Do you want to make this object a bitmap? And in this case, that means it's going to take that object at that size, and if you do rasterize it, that's when it's going to get rid of all the other bits that you don't see, and therefore you have a smaller resolution image. Does that make sense to everybody? Perfect. All right, so basically, if you rasterize this, anytime you see the term raster, R-A-S-T-E-R, it means that it's a bitmap file. So go ahead and write that down in your notes. Raster equals bitmap. And therefore, rasterize is to make a smart or vector object, we'll talk about those next class, into a bitmap image. Cool. All right, so what this is saying is we have to make this into a bitmap image at this size, and it's going to get rid of all your pixel info. Edit contents will no longer be available because now it's not a link. It's taking that and rasterizing it to a bitmap. Does that kind of make sense to everybody so far? Okay, cool. So if I click OK, notice now it's not a smart object anymore. I'm going to play the really sad music for this. It's not a smart object. It's not anymore. Caleb? Caleb, buddy. Your object is no longer a smart object. But either way, it's a regular object layer. And what we can do now is use all of our glorious brush tools to edit those pixels. So that's the whole idea behind Photoshop. It's photo manipulation. So you can get in pixel by pixel. All those little spots that make up this image, you can get in there and edit each of those individually. So what we're going to do now is let's do the long-awaited blemish removal. Pick your favorite guy. Let's keep the old one and the new one. Make a before and after like this. There he is. I can even name those. Before and after. And just in case, to make sure we don't screw anything up, I can click before and I can lock that layer. So we won't be able to paint on before unless we unlock it. Alright, last class with the zombie stuff, we learned a little bit about how to make a blemish. If you wanted some of these things to look like this, you would need contrast. Use your burn tools, dodge tools, right here. Sponge tools, soak away some of the dead flesh. Whatever. Because that's what happens when you bruise, is you push blood vessels and it's just okay. Alright, so next, click on after, because this is the blemish removal part. Next, go to your, right above the brush tool, looks like a band-aid. That's spot healing brush. It's different from healing brush. Let's just do spot healing brush. J is your quick key to get there. And finally, all you have to do now is make your brush size a pretty decent size. Look up in the options at the top. Again, you want a really soft edge. You don't want a hard edge. It's going to look fake if it's hard. It's going to look a little more blurred in if it's softer. There are no flow commands for this one. It's just regular. You do have an option for sample all layers, so if you want to do it to everything, if you've got multiple layers, like Marcelo. If you wanted to use blemish removal on Mega Man's armor, but also use it on the color layer for some reason, you can sample all layers and just the top layer down will do. Alright, so what we're going to do now is you're on your your spot healing brush. We've got a soft edge brush, pretty decent size. Remember the quick keys next to the P key, bracket keys can do that. And all you do is you paint over it, and it's gone. The reason that works is a tool we're about to get into. Don't click a bunch. You could try that, see if it works. But click and move it around a little bit. The reason why is, again, it's a cumulative effect. It's designed to be clicked, but you get a better option if you click and drag around a little bit. Because what it's doing is it's actually looking at all the other pieces that surround this blemish. And it's assuming the one that doesn't belong is what you want to change. So it's transplant and blend pixels from one area to the next. If you want to see proof of that, again, just zoom in. Alt and zoom is going to zoom you in. And now I'm on the pixel level, and you can see those individual pixels that make up the image. You can go pixel by pixel on a grid, and you can just use that. And you can see it's just transplanting and blurring pixels to give you a better look. That's why if you do it too much, it's going to look weird, as all those pixels are going to be too similar, and the eye won't be able to see a difference. But that's why it works so well. Pick an area, kind of move it about, and you can take off moles, If you go really extreme with this, you can even take off noses. Here, this blemish doesn't belong. Let's wipe it out. A lot of computation, a lot of pixels to develop, and there you go. He has no nose. But we want more control over this. This is good for a base. Like right here, this could be a. What does he look like? Harry Potter. Oh, make it a little extra nostril. Right over there. Harry. Wow. All right, so that's the extreme use of blemish removal. Again, if I want to go back, Command Z only does one step. I got to go to my history, and I can go back. Anytime you've clicked or clicked and dragged, anytime you click and let go, that creates a new history tab and a new history spot. But by default, since this uses RAM and it doesn't save in your permanent memory, it only does a certain finite amount. You can set it up to 99, but then your computer might slow down. Ours is set to about 30. So if you're in the habit of click, 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 you don't have a lot of history to go back to. So when you're doing something and you want a cumulative effect, just get your brush size correct, click on it and drag, and that'll help you blend things a lot better than this one. This click is like digging a hole in the guy's face. Like blend is like sitting. Again, now that you know the rules, you can break them if you want to. All right, so work on your facial blemish here. Facial blemish, look at that guy. If it doesn't look right the first time, just try a smoother edge. Command Z to go back and try it again. So this is kind of like a smart clone stamp tool. It does a lot of the job, but sometimes you want a manual touch. That's what we're going to look at next. And this is the kind of thing where you can flip with layers. So, for example, Marcelo, yeah, they keep using yours, but you can replicate the top of Mega Man's head if you want to. You can replicate all the pixels around it, kind of make sure it looks about right, and then wipe away the pixels and give it that dome shape. It's not 100% perfect, but it's better than nothing, and you can always blend it back. It's easier if they have hair, because then you can just blend the hair, or a bald head, because then you just push it right over the top. Nice and clean. Okay, so after you've gotten rid of most of the blemishes, again, don't get rid of all of them. That's going to look photoshopped. Just get rid of some of the ones that, if you were this photo guy, you'd be like, yeah, I'd prefer you get that out of there. Like right up here, this builds character. I got one of these. It's, oh no, I don't have that. That one right there, that indentation. That indentation is actually from chicken pox. You scratch it and it pops. I have one right here. And my mom was like, makes you look wise. Since you're 2, you had chicken pox, makes you look wise. So I'm going to leave that one there, but the rest I'm going to wipe out. It's like Bob Ross, right? Happy little trees. Gotta make some happy little trees. Okay. I'm going to leave a mole or two as well, anywhere that looks a little photoshopped. Remember, if you want to step away from it, just hold Alt and pull your mouse wheel out a little bit, or just step away from it and look at it on a bigger spectrum. The reason why is you'll see how things blend a lot better than you would up close. Let's go back to the history. Let's start fresh. And that's this history. Yeah, so anytime you click it, right about here. So right on it. Too big. Pretty close though. Go back. And do it just like yeah, like that. See a lot better. And then kind of go over a little bit more. The reason it's doing it is just it's looking immediately around that. So for most of it's around these blemish, you have to get a bigger swath to cover that whole patch of blemish. Yeah. Okay, this looks good. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, once you have this, go ahead and save this. File, save as. Again, I want before and after. Color code them if you can. That's even better. You can right click on that eyeball and make the after red. Right click on before, make that blue. And I don't really need a canvas. I'm just going to throw that canvas away. Notice under that canvas, it's checkerboard. And what does checkerboard mean in Photoshop? Yes, transparent. So if I wanted to, I could take this, put it over a layer of video. So let's say I'm doing this for, graduation video, or God forbid, kids do. You want to have something that looks nice. So you have a nice picture of him. If you're a family member, you can do this for a loved one. You can put video of them behind it, or maybe, nice floral pattern. So you can do a lot of things with this transparency layer. Remember, we also have full control over the alpha channel. So let's do that. After you've named this and color coded that, we're going to take this a step further. Select both of your layers, after and before. Drag them down into one folder. And Caleb, we're going to name this Caleb. There you go, bud. So let's say that Caleb needs something really cool and nice to look at. We got a 1080 frame. This will work great for video. But we're working in Photoshop. Let's put another layer under this. It's going to be a background. So what happened to Caleb? Hashtag what happened to Caleb? We can put flowers, we can put trees. Let's make this our own meme. Make sure behind your person you can see transparency. If you can't, go ahead and use that magic wand tool and do that stuff out there. Let's take a look. All right, after it's dragged into a folder, remember organization is key here. Name that folder, name your person. Mine's Caleb. Hi, Caleb. And now I'm going to find out what happened to Caleb. We want space. I love space. We're going to use that. Again, tools, large, any size. I'm going to get this nebula that I always wanted because now it's 1080p and it's just the right size. Copy this or place it. Remember, you can save and place it. Depends on how you want to use it. Mine, I know it's the exact same size. There's my background. He's lost in space. And drag that background underneath Caleb. And there he goes. So after you get your background underneath Caleb, I'm going to show you how to use your layer mask. You can use it in some brush techniques to make it look like he's fondly being remembered. We'll put Caleb looking nice. Alright, if you don't have a checkerboard background, you won't be able to see the background underneath that layer. So if you do have a checkerboard background, this is where you can use your skills. You got it. Knock those out. But don't do it layer by layer. Click on the group itself. And I'll tell you why in a second. Good. And the reason why I deselect this one. So Command D. Good. So we're on this. Add a layer mask to it. Cool. Now you're editing the layer mask. So these, you won't destroy these pixels. They'll still be there. So now you're layering the whole thing using that point here. Now it's wiping out the whole group of back. Then you can go back and cut it. All right, so folks, if you don't have a transparent background, remember you're gonna have to cut it out. But the easy way to do it, now that Caleb is in a group, I wanted to keep him in a group so I have my before and after for blemishes. In case his mom is like, no, he had a mole there or a birthmark that you covered up. You can easily go back and just, redo it again. So on the folder for Caleb, this is where you can add your layer mask and use that to cut him out. So in this case, if I didn't see any transparency, you could go in with your selection tools and start cutting things out. What I'd like to do instead is use my paint bucket. Or I'm sorry, not my paint bucket. Underneath the paint bucket is the gradient tool. So I'm going to do a gradient mask for this guy, and that's going to be a nice circular kind of a brushed look. So what we're going to do here is underneath G key, your paintbrush, go to the gradient tool, and the gradient we want up in the top, it's selected on black and white, click the drop down. You have a lot of presets. One of them is foreground background color, which we have here. One of them is actually just black and white. They don't really name them very well. One of them is foreground color fading into nothing. We're going to do foreground to background because we want black to white since we're working with a layer mask that we've applied. So now I'm on the gradient tool, and up in the top, instead of a left to right linear gradient, I want a radial gradient to look like a paintbrush, or you can even do a star gradient. But click on that radial gradient, and now, if I click and drag, that's what I'm doing is I'm painting a mask on to Caleb here. If it's going a little too weird like that, like it's too abrupt, you can always adjust that mask. I can get a basic look. Okay, Caleb looks great fading into obscurity here, but I want more. So I can just drag that out a little more and use my paintbrush to paint on white or black on that mask. Again, really soft edge, low flow, and that's going to let you kind of ease around this object. And if you paint away a little too much of his face, you can go to the smaller brush and repaint on some white to make him visible. This is going to be a great meme. Love this. All right, so I'm going to go back in with white and a smaller brush, and I'm just going to brush in his face a little more so he's blended, especially around the edges, to give him definition, but still that nice fade. And there we go. This is a great 90s kind of a thing. I could make that blend if I wanted to with different brushes that we're going to look at today and make it look like a picture. I'm just going to switch over to black and again go in here with my paintbrush and paint him a mustache made of clouds. There we go. There's his cloud mustache. Again, if you're having trouble with it, make sure your hardness is down. Mine was up too high, and now I'm painting in a nice mustache made of clouds. Give him a nice beard. There we go. So, my wife Victoria's a big Jermaine Clement fan from Flight of the Conchords. So I can totally replace this guy. Alright, so this is what we've done now, is we've created Caleb. He's lost in space for me. Where is your person, Lydia? Where's they going to be? Find an image. Let's find out. Great job on that cutting. Hey. 4. Oh, for the... Okay. So, we've got the image. Now, last game. And... So we got black. And sweet. Using black. Now you can use black for settings that use gray areas or white. This is working before and after each, so hopefully they're the same size to match. Good, so what you're doing now is you've got your before and after. And basically, folks, the effect you want to have is, again, we apply the layer mask to this group of Caleb because I want to easily switch between before and after in space. So now, there's his blemishes in space after using Aqua Gel. There's his blemishes in space before using Aqua Gel. Right? All right, go ahead and save that. And you can save it as the same name that you had before, possibly, which is Blemish dash your name. So go to your browser, just like our image code. You've got to get away in there. You're going to save and copy it. Zero copy. And do that. And go to edit. And paste. Just a quick key. Okay. And now we know that that image is too small. But let's change it here. Hit that command T. And then hold shift always. If you want to hit Alt at the same time, it's like you're in the corner away from the so shift and Alt. Yeah. So basically now you can move your anchor points to that to the corner. If you want it back to the middle, you can do that. And if it got a little wonky, just escape. Escape to not confirm. Good. That command T one more time. Good practice. Shift and Alt at the same time. Drag. There you go. Nice keyboard shortcuts. Awesome, perfect. Okay, so folks, you shouldn't have an image smaller than your screen, but I'll show you a good way to get around that if you need to cheat pixel size. I'm going to go medium. And let's say I want to put this nice little nebula here as his. It's only 800 by 533 pixels. So when I go to that image, it's not very big, but I can copy that image anyway. I can place it, and if I want to use it behind Caleb, what I can do is, again, Command T to size it, and right now I'm doing what you should never do, which is increasing the size of your image. Decreasing is never a problem. Increasing is giving you pixelation. The image is going to look blurry because the pixels that make up this image, that tiny 800 by 533, are not blown up to gigantic versions of 800 by 533. But you can cheat that. Like right now, you can see it's kind of blurry. Let me zoom in there. Everybody can see that blurriness, right? You can tell one image is higher res than the other. But a way to fix that is use that to your advantage. If you ever need to blend pixels, you can. So right now, let's say that my editor gave me this. He's out of town for the week, and this has to be in by Monday. You can do an easy mock-up by clicking on this and just name it Blur Layer, Blur Galaxy, whatever. And we're going to put a blur effect to this. So right now, we're clicked on this. You can go to Filter, and under Filter you can do Blur, and under Blur you can do a Gaussian blur. That's going to pop up a little window to show you an overall blur radius of 1 pixel. I can make this look very blurry, like it's supposed to, right? If you take a picture of something that's high quality, you got the back focus set on the camera, you can get a nice blurry background behind a very in-focus image, and the farther your face bends back, like your ears, the blurrier it is. So I can do that with Caleb here. Add a Gaussian blur, there you go. Another way I could do it if I didn't want to have it over just that one layer is I could go down to an adjustment layer and do a blur as well. Actually, no, I can't remove that. What I could do, though, is make this into a smart object. Let's pretend I brought this in, I wanted the original size. It will let you do a Gaussian blur filter to it, but you can apply that filter as a smart object effect layer, if that makes sense. Found out the bitmap works better, though. All right, filter Gaussian blur, there he is. Beautiful. I'm gonna go to my Caleb mask and start making this dude shine right around the edges. I want him to look real, so I'm gonna give him a little bit more of a face. All right, after you're satisfied with where you're at with this project, just save it as blemish-your name. Remember, your layers should be named including the name of your person that you've got and where they're at. It's like a nice big Where's Waldo right here. Perfect. So file, save, it's going to be the cover of my next album. Caleb, Lost in Space. Sorry, Caleb. All right, so that was fun. I'm going to make sure you've got that on your Dropbox. Activities, assignments. And we don't. Let's put him up there. Submission folder. Blemish removal. This is still going to be Photoshop. This is going to be a great item called blemish removal. And we're going to have maximum points. Probably is 2. Okay, all right, that should be there if you guys refresh D2L. So today we've done a lot. We've looked at our makeup brushes, we've uploaded a critique and a revision based on that critique of our original design. Now we got blemish removal and we move people places. Josh, what's the first one? Good. Alright, we're gonna come around, folks. We'll make sure y'all get your layers painted properly. Make sure everything is in order. You can see your final product. If you're not there yet, don't worry, I'll help you out. And if you are there yet, we're at a 10-minute break. Go take a break. If you're uploading, you're all good to go. But if it doesn't look like Caleb up here, I'm gonna throw him up there. So you can see his layer orders. This is what I want. Make sure you got it turned in just like that. Right here, you should have your final image looking fly. You should have your layer mask on your grouped folder of your person so it's easy to hide them. You should also have your after properly named and your before. You should be able to quickly go through this like I'm doing. Hide the guy, hide the blemishes, and hide the space background. So I have two options for space background. So this is what you should have. For me, I'm also going to right-click and color code some of these backgrounds. As much organization as you can get, go ahead and do that. Once it's saved as a Photoshop file, save it again as a JPEG file or PNG file, and upload multiple position databases. Drag that floor up, and then cool, great job. Okay, now remove space. And the thing that you want to do, so let's see what I can do, is you added your layer mask here, but you want to be able to easily do this and still have an option. So you need to fix that. Shift, click, open to the top, first. Now, you may hold it if you want to, that's fine. But now, you can take this action. So that's what the name that person is. where's your person? Where are they?
It's so fun. Seriously, it's the best thing ever. And then like everybody comes over with like Mario Kart. It's so fun.
But where's your person?
It's in the woods.
In the woods. Perfect. In the woods. All right, so folks, go ahead and throw yours up here. I'll give you some feedback, but you don't need a critique sheet for this. Anybody guess why? Why don't you need a critique sheet for this? We're not really getting critiques. It's just a fun exercise. I'm not going to go through the whole process and have to do stuff again. But for side notes, like for some, Kyle, what's yours? Which you're trying to finish off. If you can't see the top of it, bottom. Save that. Hey, Josh. Question. All right, well, folks, we're going to move on in about 2 minutes. All right, save it. Let's move on. Stay where you're at. Let's move on. Lots of things happening. I see people lost and found. And great. This is perfect. Good job. All right, things you could also do. Lighting effects. Remember, you could add an adjustment layer to your layer mask. Now that you have a layer mask, for example, for Tina over here. Hold Command and click on that mask. I'll do the same thing for Caleb. Remember, that loads your selection of that layer mask that I just clicked on here. After you have that, add an adjustment layer. In this case, instead of hue saturation, do brightness contrast. And play with the settings. You can immediately improve the look of somebody for an ad campaign. You can bring up their brightness and their contrast. Make sure that layer, of course, is above your person layer, or even in your person layer. And now you can start adjusting brightness and contrast for this person. So you can really make this look fleshed out. You can add lighting effects if you wanted to. Add a blank area. Let's play with that. Another fun example. For Hope, or for the Walmart lady here, Tina. Your person's in the woods. Let's give her some dramatic lighting. Same with this guy. He's the center of the universe. We're going to give him dramatic lighting. To do that, add a blank layer. And name that blank layer dramatic lighting. All right, on this blank layer, make sure you're selected on it. Dramatic lighting layer has to be green. Nope, yellow for me. All right, once you're selected on it, go to your gradient tool. Remember that's G, right above your paint bucket tool. For your colors, make sure it's black and white. Have that selected, because we're going to use this and change the blend mode to get a weird kind of a spotlight look on this person. All right, So now we're on this thing, we're on gradient, we've got a radial gradient. You can draw. If you need to reverse it, it's up top. You can click reverse. Now I'm going to draw again, and this is the lighting I want to have over Caleb. To see what's under here, remember, click on this dramatic lighting layer, go to your blend mode, and change that to something like multiply or overlay. And that's going to change your lighting. Overlay is too much, so I'm just going to do multiply, so it's just the black. And what I can do now is I can see my lighting underneath, and I can draw bigger circles to give this more of an outer space look. And check it out, there's the before and after. You can really see the difference with just a slight amount of gradient. Add a slight amount of gradient to everything, and people will think you're intermediate graphic designer. Got some depth to your project. Remember, make that very top layer. That looks great. Take a look at Marcelo. We had a happy accident here. He put his lighting layer underneath his mask on top of his face, and so we got this really cool echo of stars. Marcelo, you can We had an accidental thing that happens, but it's a striking image, didn't it? That is making it look like that in this space, not white to black. And it has a really cool effect. Try to setting this up. Like give you a really cool giving you have to find a place that is that don't you say there's a blemish in it? Man. Put that on your portfolio. That's beautiful. Alright, so folks, remember, if overlay doesn't give you a good dramatic lighting, try multiply. Multiply just for two blacks. Dramatic lighting is a contrast over. Sure. Mark that later. I like that. Looks good. It would. Give me a favor. You got a contrast layer for her face. Okay, so that's what we do with that switch. Sounds good again. Step up. And go ahead and upload another version of this. The reason why we're doing multiple versions is, again, you're always going to find little things where you're like, oh, wait, this could be tweaked. Oh, this could be tweaked. Wait, I turned it in. Don't be limited by that. Put a creative and we're going to take those recent submissions. So adjust as your heart's content. Do it all the way up to about 10 o'clock tonight. That's always going to be my cutoff. The day after 10 o'clock tonight. Change it back over a little. That's pretty bright. And then bring your face in there just a little bit. Maybe you can see a little more of that goes back. That looks like something could be like the cover of a re-edition of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Right? It's really that outer space. Great job with the cuts. How's yours looking, sir? Good. Alright, she's looking pretty bright and nice. And if you wanted to, that's her. And just there. 1, 2, 4. Some color. Just move the color. Now she's a solid color. And what's even better is you can change the function. So this is okay, folks, last thing, let's do a little color scheme, dang it, and then we'll wrap up with the quick clone stamp tool. Color scheme, yes, you've probably uploaded it 27 times now. We're going to add one more layer to this. I really like it. Sorry. Yeah, alright, so now we're going to do final finishing touches. Okay? I want everybody to have what we just added. Dramatic lighting layer, also an adjustment layer of some sort with the alpha channel included. So for example here, I'm going to pick my Caleb alpha channel, command click to load it so I get marching ants, and finally I'm going to add an adjustment layer down below of a solid color. As long as you got one adjustment layer, brightness and contrast is fine. If you want to add a color and do some color theory, let's do it. What color should I pick? Well, let's pick it from the background. Everything I see, I'm going to pick this nice kind of a blue. What's a good opposite to blue for contrast? Yellow. So I'm going to have a nice kind of a golden glow. I'm going to change the blend mode for Caleb. And I can even change that opacity down. Or heck, I don't even have to do that yellow. I can change that to that blue. Why not? Let's try it out. Cool, that looks a little better. So now I'm getting blacks, not just blacks and whites from the original image, but I'm pulling from the image behind it. And all I did was command click to load a selection, add an adjustment layer down here, anything I want, and then play around with the settings there in the blend mode. Changing it to overlay helped a lot for me. And now what I can do is go into that overall layer still. It's a layer mask. I can click on it. And I can easily paint or unpaint anything I want to see or don't want to see. And this is how you avoid having something look photoshopped. Fade those edges. Give it some subtlety. And if I want this layer brighter again, I can put brightness contrast on top. And that changes how these blend and layer over each other. There we go. I'm going to give him some of those blemishes back. I'm going to change his after blend mode to something like multiply, or hue, or exclusion. There we go. There's my final Caleb. That is Outer Space Caleb right there. So what we did is played with some blend modes here. Before and after. All right, this will be our last upload for this because we need to move on to Clone Stamp Tool. But hopefully you learned a lot. You got to know your character, and you had some connection with your art. So you had to do it over and over and over. That looks a lot better. Take a look at balance here. We started with a solid green color. Check out what we did now. What blend mode did you do? Remember, folks, it's a powerful tool for finding a color. Again, if you weren't sure what color overlay to use, if you're using one, double click on anything. Whenever you got your palette up, hover off of it, turns into an eyedrop tool. Part of your selection tools, it even shows the eyedropper. And then you can pick any color from here. So I can get that deep blue for Caleb. I can get that nice white, or that kind of a dark black if I want to. Perfect. So that's an easy way to get your color scheme. All right, so hopefully I'll have a bunch of uploads from you guys for blemish removal. This project turned into something huge. You got like 3 or 4 revisions in one. Remember, you can always play it. Holy crap, Caleb, she got a lot more exercises. Good job. Love those little squares. You guys, you have a lot of really good stuff here. Save it, finesse it, have a little fun with it. For example, Lydia, yours is looking good. I got one to change that. So go to something like normal. And then, let's adjust her. Interesting. But you could have it for something. You can adjust that. This is why it's important to work off something that's the exact same size as you know what you might do to it. There you go. Looks pretty good there. So change after something else like exclusion and let's go for Good. So go ahead and save that. So folks, this is going to be your art. It's not just one issue of questions. So save what you have. Put it on a portfolio. Save it to PSD and a JPEG. So your final upload. I want to see where you are versus where you're at. Now I got a history of your revisions. So you guys picked some good color scheme. I'm proud of y'all. This is good. First year students are doing ad campaign stuff. So Lydia, yours could be on a Walmart sign somewhere. Might have to arrange her face versus the Walmart size. Oh, loved yours. It was coming out really cool. You got a new style. Love that. Marcelo, I like this. That space, very cool. I love your lighting techniques. Check out Marcelo's lighting techniques. You got that big, like spotlight of a galaxy somewhere, or star glaring on her. Hope is your star. I was going to see yours. You're doing some really cool stuff there at the end with the lust. Okay, check out Hope. That looks pretty cool. Something that would be great on a band posters, right? It looks really cool. It's got an aesthetic. Hope, what kind of bands do you like?
I like a lot of different stuff.
Where would this be seen?
I feel like it should be like some alternative punk rock kind of girl.
Very cool stuff. I like it. Like Nine Inch Nails. They had some weird music, right? And Bile. Remember Bile?
I feel like that sounds familiar.
Oh, so great. They only had a couple good songs, but man, their stage shows are insane. All their posts. Okay, we got the Exorcist over here. Like, right, there's the posters. Perfect right there. Lightsaber right there. Alright, so once you got it saved, folks, remember, I'm on a PSD and a JPEG. We've already seen everybody's work. This is part of the creative process. Good job so far. And what we're going to do now is something completely different. Let's now look in our favorite browser, and we're going to find, everybody does this at some point, but I'm going to show you how to make it shine. Footprints. We're looking for footprints and say we're going to eliminate footprints. But what you're about to learn on these saved images is going to help you in a lot of your projects to replicate things that aren't there. So footprints. I'm hitting footprints. I hit images. I go to tools, size. I want the largest possible. Google, give me some copyright infringement. Yeah. All right, let's do this really large one over here. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right. From the crapulent. I'm going to write to them, see if I can use this for a video. But you can see it's thousands of pixels. Let's use that, man. So images, search tools, large. Footprints is what I'm searching. And this crapulent. View image, please get me to the wallpaper. Yay, full size. I can right-click, copy it. But remember, you can also right-click, save it, and just open it to get that exact canvas size. Again, it depends on what you want. If somebody says, hey, I want this for a movie. I want this each scene. You will want to make it a style first, and then translate your image there and size it. But if you want to keep it at the original size, that's an easy way. Just save it and open it from within Photoshop. So footprints, wallpapers, 2, that's mine. Bless you. Photoshop, file, open. Go to my downloads folder, find my footprints, and open it. And again, this is 3,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels. This is big enough for 2K, almost big enough for 4K. Pretty good. And again, if you want to verify something's size, it's not really what it looks like on the canvas. It's just showing you the overall size. Look way up in the top of this file name. This is at 33%. We're only seeing a third of the size of this thing. It's huge. 3 times the size, which is 3 times the size of a 1080p monitor, which is 3K. Pretty good stuff. But what you can see is very clean looking stuff. If I zoom way in on this foot, 3 times the size, I don't see any pixels. That could easily be right there. We'll talk about megapixels and stuff coming up in the next class. All right, so what we're going to do now is let's eliminate some of these footprints. What we've been doing so far is using Spot Healing Brush to help us, but we want more control. All Spot Healing Brush does is guess which pixels around what you want is what you want to transplant. In our case, we're going to tell it exactly where to start cloning from and where to start stamping to. That's why it's a clone stamp tool. All right, first things first. I open this up. The background is locked. I can't lock it with my tools. Just double click on it, give it a name. Sand. And now it's unlocked. You can do anything you want to it. So if your layer is locked, double click on it. And that has a default setting. It's kind of like placing an image. It doesn't allow you to do anything to it unless you double click on it and make it a layer instead of just a reference to a file. All right, now your regular lock unlock works. All right, so sand, what we're going to do is select on your sand layer. Make sure you right click on it and let's duplicate this sucker. Duplicate layer. Sand copy, sure. I'm going to do this sand after. Hit OK. And now we're going to do the same thing as our blemish, before and after. If you want these linked forever, remember, you can do that right now. Click on them. You can drag them into a group or just hit the link button. I'm going to go ahead and drag it into a group just because I like them grouped. And I can call these Feet on Sand. All right, then before and after. Of course, you can have those color-coded. Red's after, blue's before, whatever you want, violet, gray. It's all fine. All right, and make sure after all that organization, you're clicked on Sand After in your Sand, Feet on Sand group. Or your linked file, however you got them linked. Again, the whole idea is you want these perfectly sized and in sync so that if you adjust one, you can easily go back and forth and see what it looks like. All right, so go to your Sand After. Go down right below your brush. There's Clone Stamp Tool. Click and hold that. Clone Stamp Tool. And what this is going to do now is allow you to brush and paint, but you're going to brush and paint with the designated area that you're pulling from. And we'll look at limitations of that. So first thing, subtle brush work. Very soft edge, pretty decent sized brush. We might change that. Leave opacity alone, for God's sakes. Use the flow tool, guys. Leave your opacity alone. We'll say it again, Lydia. Leave your opacity alone. The reason why is if you have something at 1% opacity or 10% opacity, you go over it a million times, it's only going to get to 10. With opacity up and flow down, you can go over it a million times, and it'll eventually get to 100%. Same idea there. If you want to fade something later, go to the whole layer so you have something editable. All right, so opacity is left alone. Soft edge brush. Very low flow, about 10%. Maybe a little heavier, we'll see. And now we're on Sand After. What we're going to do is go right next to what you're about to paint. It's kind of backwards from the blemish tool. You don't just click on it and move it. You tell it exactly where you want to sample from. And a good rule of, I hate the term rule of thumb, but we're going to use it because it actually applies here. Rule of thumb. From your screen, not from here, this is gigantic, like 2 times. But from your screen, you want to have about a thumb's width between what you're painting to and what you're sampling from. If you're brush is too big, it's going to encroach on that. If it's too far away, you won't be able to get it. You want to get very similar pixels to where you're painting to make this work. So, rule of thumb, just kind of hover your mouse. Make sure your brush is about big enough to cover your foot, in this case about that size, and hover it farther away, leave a thumb's width. Finally, hold Alt, that gives you a target. Alt option gives you a target. Click and hold on it, and then left click to target from this area. That's where I'm targeting from. Now I can hover over it. It just shows a preview version, nothing's happening unless I click and drag, and it's painting from that old area to the new area. And this is where you do want to click and let go a couple times, because the more you go into something, the more it's going to keep copying. It's like a very quick RAM preview stance. So if I were to sample properly, thumbs width from here to here, sample it and start drawing, but if I keep drawing, it's just going to keep moving those points and it's going to replicate that foot again unless you let go. So once in a while, if it's doing weird stuff, just try to let go of your mouse and try clicking again. Alright, and you're going to have to resample. These footprints get smaller, so I need a smaller brush. Hold Alt and click next to it with a thumb's width. Click and drag and move around. If you want to bring your flow up, you can do this a little faster. Might not look as polished, but you can try. Alright, notice as you get to the top of the screen, you start running out of space. It tries to start painting the edge of this image again, and that's because your target's all the way off the canvas. If that happens, sample from the other side. Hold Alt, click, and just sample from that side. And now I don't have to Alt click anymore. These are about fine. I can just go all the way up. If it starts replicating waves or something, just resample. And you can even angle it. Like I don't have enough at the top or the left or right of this. I'm just going to go under it where it's already clean and sample there and go all the way out to the page. If I need any blend work again, I can bring my flow back down, even softer edge brush, even wider angle, and just start resampling and blending this. There we go. If you do it too much, it's going to look a little blotchy, but just a little bit's going to help. If it looks a little blurry like mine does, you can change that brush hardness. Put it up to about 50 and try to sample some more sand, and that should put it where you want it to be. Looks a little less blurry now, doesn't it? So remember, you've got options, brush options, sample options, anything you want to make this work. Just remember, if you're starting to get blotchy sand, go to subtle brushwork. Bring that hardness back down, bring out a larger area and a lower flow, and that's going to help you to cover up any mistakes you've got. There we go. Whoops, a little too much. A little too big. All right, I'm going to come around and start helping folks with their feetsies. So if you're anything like me, you've made a mess, you need some help. There we go. Let's fix that. Alright, and remember, if all else fails and you're like, man, this looks terrible, go back in your history. Every time you've clicked and unclicked, you've got that history. So you can make these foot stamps if you wanted to animate this. Just go click through steps and make these feet disappear. Okay. I'm going to leave that last footprint. And now I got a quick before and after. Ta-da. What's great too is I can even use the layer above it for sand after. If I want to go back through, put a layer mask on it, I could paint or unpaint parts of this and start bringing those footsteps back in if I want to. All up to what you'd like to do. So I've got this guy sprinting across the beach now. There he goes. There's this big final leap. And again, all it's doing is using brushes and layer masks to really bring out some cool stuff in your artwork. Okay. So there we go. There's my beach, and I can do anything I want with that. Nice. Looks pretty good. Again, always get up from it, kind of take a step back and see anything that looks weird to you. So now I've covered up some footprints and not others. So I could make this an ad campaign and call this Nike Go Farther, because look, he's taking farther and farther steps. Oh my gosh. What a great ad campaign. Here, we'll take a look. Alright, so downloads, let me save this real quick. Footprints. Alright, before I move on and start helping you guys, I'm going to make an assignment folder, submission folder for this. It's going to be called Footprints - Clone Stamp. Remember, the same organization is what I'm going to be looking for, please. All right, and we've done 2 huge freaking projects here in the last 2 hours. We still got some time left, so don't head out yet. But let me come around and help you out. Okay. All right, good job, folks. Right, you guys can hand. Anybody else need Alright, it's nice. So, as we were talking about here with Josh, remember, any opportunity is a good one to network. For the stuff we're doing here, as we talked about, you can find out where the original photo's from. Contact that guy, see if you can use his copyright or work out a deal with him. And then go to the tourism board for that state and say, you want a picture of these unsafe beaches? Here you go. Here you go. And you can make contact, maybe they'll hire you up. Because I know so many people that work in production in the city here in Denver that do promo videos for tourism. That's their whole job. We don't see them here in this state because we know it's great here. We'll show them out of state. Come to Denver. Come to Denver. Mile High City. Jokes aside.
Can you use the same techniques for like photos?
Yes, absolutely. Blemish removal. If you have part of the photo to come off, use clone stamp. You can't replicate things that's not there, but you can fake it really well. Okay, let's see. What else? We've done our foot stamps. We've done our blemish tools. I'm going to show you something that's fun. We've done a lot of hard work today, so go ahead and save where you're at. Make sure you have everything uploaded. We're looking for makeup brushes, revision 2 with critique, blemish removal, all those various files types that you've had. I want PSD and JPEG for everything, please. And footprints, clone stamp. Also, if you don't like JPEG, because it is slightly more you can use the original PDF. PDF print run. I like a JPEG. Every computer can open JPEG. It's pretty much what the engine Okay, folks, once you're done with your clone stamp tool, you've got a PSD version and a JPEG version. Alright, what we're going to do next is take a little break from design work. You guys did great. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was hard work today. Very nice. Slow clap. Good for you, Paul. Come on, slow clap. Flushing. Good flushing. Oh, this is a lot of fun. Alright, we're going to watch something called You Suck at Photoshop. Anybody ever heard of this channel? It's from my damn channel to do live comedy. But holy crap, I love this guy. He's doing this in 2000. This is the most fun way I've ever had learning Photoshop. There is language. If anybody is uncomfortable with language, you can learn this. But it is funny as heck. If you like comedy, you like learning Photoshop. He's got everything for free on Photoshop, or sorry, on YouTube. An entire show. There's season 1, and it actually goes through the story behind the story that happens here. You can learn all sorts of stuff. Paths and masks, select color range. That one's great for hair. Holy crap. Select color range. You can do hair. Just like the entire color range of hair. One click. That one's fun, but the one we're going to watch is what we just did, clone stamp and manual cloning. And what this is going to teach you is the basics that we've just done, but how to use it for more of a photo restoration idea. So go ahead and take your notes out. And let's see what we have here for You Suck at Photoshop. Again, this is my damn channel, and this was published all the way back 2008, but it's great. Subscribe if you haven't already, and they're wonderful. Okay. And on that note, I'm also going to stop my